Hello and welcome back to an uncomfortable greenhorn photo taker. I do not love walking in the dark, but here we are at Cliff Park hoping to catch a sunrise, which is something that I used to do every year, but haven't been here in quite some time for sunrise. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see one of those famous cloud inversions. Does not seem like the conditions are correct, but I've thought that before and luck out once the sun starts coming above the horizon. I left my house around 4:30 a.m. Sunrise is 6:27, and yeah, we're just trekking up. What we have to do, or what I have to do, is decide, do I stay for my tree and hope there's fog, or push along the cliff edge to where I could directly see the sun itself and capture that moment. The plan was just the tree, but if there's no fog, then that is not a great viewpoint for what I'm trying to capture. So many spider webs. Okay, here is option one. I see no evidence of building fog, so let's push on and play it safe from a photography standpoint, but continue some hiking in the dark, which I don't love. Some of this is on the Pixel 9, the new phone by Google. I have a feeling it's much more shaky, but the exposure of the feed or the video at night is probably much better than the GoPro, because the GoPro really doesn't compensate for that, other than ISO changes, where I think this phone will probably have some AI intelligence to help it out. We'll switch back and forth and see. Now, last time I tried this, probably 2 years ago, maybe even 3, and I fell. Oh, well, that was fun. I just fell down on the trail. I have a coffee in my backpack that is now spilling down my back, and was worried that my coffee, my 20-ounce quick check coffee, would have ruined my camera bag, or actually the camera gear inside it, which is a long way to say I have been tripping a lot compared to when I was younger. Whether that is, psychosomatic or true evidence that I am now 50 as of this summer, I definitely have noticed a proclivity to trip more than ever before. So I am not getting close, or as close as I used to, I should say, to the cliff edge, because that's a one-way ticket to never seeing my family again. It is fun how rambling in the dark automatically brings out the negative and the worst fears. Too funny. I can see the sun starting to work its magic on the horizon. Some very deep reds, maroon-like, over near High Point Monument. That would be cool. I should have checked Google Maps to see, or Google Earth to see where that sunrise is. So here's our first lookout. I am not going to go down there. I'm going to opt to prefer a more flat and expansive base of operation. But that is a nice little viewpoint. Still can't see any fog. There was a trip, see what I mean? That was a route. Too funny. Oh, bear. I heard you off in the distance. Or something. Oh, bear. So we are actually on a cliff trail. It is the Unblazed Recreational Trail. One of my favorite trails around. Many vlogs here. But I always get a little frustrated with the NPS and how they communicate closures. Because there are signs up towards the Milford side of this trail that say the area is closed. But in past years, I check in with the NPS. I'm like, nope, no closures, no closures. So this year, I did the trail in the summer, walked all the way down, and on the way back, I thought I saw a nesting peregrine falcon. So I contacted the NPS, and they say you shouldn't be on the trail. It's closed until August every year for nesting peregrine falcons. So I think the final say on that is from February until August 1st, the Milford section of that trail is closed. And please don't use it. After August 1st, after the falcon's patched, all is good. So I have about a half hour until sunrise, which means I really need to find a stopping point or risk missing the progression. And I could definitely see the sky starting to lighten up. I still need my headlamp, of course. But, yep. It's almost time to stop. That's so bright. All right, so I can see for certain High Point Monument. And there's definitely no inversion. You know, when the light's not in my eyes, I can see down the cliff that there's not even a hint of fog. So I think I'll try to frame something up right here. Time lapse of the actual sunrise, wherever High Point Monument would be, and that I'll try to capture it as well. So let's see how long this lasts. First time lapse is this GoPro in one of my favorite trees. So it's framed up to have these branches included just to give, I don't know, a different feel. I've done this so many times from these cliff faces, just trying something different. We are definitely very close to the edge, but if I drop and fall here, I'd have to roll in order to go off the cliff. So I feel pretty good there. Elsewhere, I have another time lapse going on the back of this camera, and I doubt you could see it on the Pixel. Come on, buddy, focus. But right about here is High Point Monument. And looking at photo pills, man, the sun's gonna rise pretty darn close to that. I can't wait to see how close. So that's about where the sun should come up. If you look here at this corner, that is not going to be High Point Monument. So I'm framing it up in my mind. It's tough to see on this phone. It's going to be right about here is High Point. So the sun should come up just to the left of High Point. And one other note, I don't have a great time-lapse processing software. I've been hesitant to spend, the 300 or whatever dollars it is on the full DaVinci, which does have an anti-flicker or deflicker mode, which would really help with time lapses as the exposure changes or the sun goes between clouds. Oftentimes you'll see flickering going on in a time lapse, and DaVinci can help reduce that flicker. But of course, that's a premium feature that's paid for. I don't know if I want to spend that on a hobby at this point. So I try to find different ways to get around it. So one of the problems I've had in the past is setting up the time lapse and getting the exposure right. There's really two ways to do it. The first is what I'm doing now, which I always read for day to night time lapses wasn't the best idea. I just have my ISO set to auto, and I'm gonna let the camera change the exposure with ISO as each picture snapped. The good part about that is it should lead to a very consistent look and feel without the flickering, and I'll explain that in a second. The downside is I'm always trying to expose properly, so it will never be very dark in the time lapse, as it normally would look to the eye. Right before sunrise, it should look dark. As the sun comes up, it should look bright. By using auto ISO, you're trying to force that camera into exposing properly the entire time. So I'm not sure how that'll look. It probably won't look as good as I'm hoping. I should get that even closer to my face. What do you think? The other way is to expose manually, basically, and set your specific ISO. Of course, you want to have a consistent aperture, a consistent, what's it called? Shutter, right? You want to have all that consistent and really only change your ISO. The problem there is you really have to guess right as to how it will look. Because once the sun comes up to a certain extent, if your ISO is wrong, it could really overexpose your entire image and make it look horrible. So it's a trade-off there. I've done it the latter way most of the time, and it looks good except for I always get flickering. And what flickering is the minor changes in exposure. The sun partially goes behind a cloud or something. You can see in the image, in the final image, it definitely changes exposure very unnaturally because it's sped up. Normally when you're sitting out here, it's a gradual change and your eye just picks up on it and processes it without even knowing it. Your brain processes it without even knowing it, and it looks like gradual. But when you speed up on a time lapse, those changes look very abrupt, and it can make that picture look unnatural. So I would say as this progresses, I don't think this will be a spectacular sunrise. The clouds are diminishing a bit. So I don't think I had the perfect conditions for a sunrise, but that's okay, right? It's about learning sometimes and not the final product. I definitely feel like there's something out in the woods though. So I wanted to point out some things that I don't think I have framed up, unfortunately. I think I have too narrow of a field of view. But can you see over here, you see those wispy clouds? That looks great. That really looks great. And same thing here. Where is it? Here. Those clouds are turning a vibrant pink. That looks great as well. But where I have the time lapse set up, over here somewhere, just not that same atmosphere. And it's a real shame because here's where the, cliff edge is. Well, here's the cliff edge, right? Here's the valley. But if you go right here, maybe 200 yards is a full view of this area here. But that's not where I set up. Now, on the other hand, maybe the GoPro does have it. I don't know if we'll be able to get that resolution, but like it's definitely in the GoPro's field of view over here. So that'd be cool. Now this does make me happy though. Those clouds are lighting up right behind the monument. Almost makes me want to change my time lapse and zoom in. Oh, I can't crop that much. What a choice. So I could ruin the time lapse, crop in just for this part. I think I have to, right? So as we look at these gorgeous clouds, moments after I started to complain, by the way, my goodness, look at them. They are awesome. I stopped my time lapse. I had to focus in on the monument and not worry about the rest. Oh man, I wish I was a better photographer. Because this should be something I'm capturing in total. Look at the detail in those clouds right now. I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm gonna zoom in. My goodness, look at that. That is incredible. All right, my watch says 6:27. So we should be moments away from that sunrise. My goodness, there is a chance that it is actually right behind the monument. Pretty cool. I still can't tell exactly where that sun is going to pop up. I guess it's to the right of the monument, but this whole time, according to PhotoPills, I thought it would be on the left. There we go. It is directly to the right. Hello, sun. First up is the GoPro time lapse, and you can see right away it's very noisy, and that's part of what a GoPro at night, you just have to live with it. And the intent here, right, is not to create a professional time lapse. By the way, you can see the flicker in the sky if you look closely. It's to create a look and feel of what that scene was, capture a memory. And when these clouds are lighting up, my goodness, it brings me exactly back to how giddy I felt in the moment. So GoPro, I know you're not a professional time-lapse tool, but well done on capturing the scene. Ah, look at that, here comes the sun. Yeah, see, this is why you always carry GoPro. For the Sony, I wish I had kept it on this wide-angle view. I like this picture right now. I like seeing the cloud formations change, and just as it's getting good, I ended up zooming and cropping in and focusing on High Point Monument, and to me it ruined the aesthetics of the shot and was unnecessary. I definitely should have kept it this way. So this is cool looking and all, but I definitely prefer the wider angle view. So live and learn. And right after I turned off the time lapse, I ran around like a lunatic trying to take as many handheld snapshots in this wonderful golden hour light. It was so vibrant. So these are snapshots, not landscape photography shots. And I walked down to that cliff area
And then it started having a rain shower. So if you look closely, you can see the sparkles of rain. So after the sunrise, it was magical for about, I don't know, 6 minutes or so, and I just ran around trying to capture some of these scenes.
I have to admit, when the alarm went off at 4:15, I had to question whether it was worth it. And apparently it was. Nothing wrong with that scene. As always, thanks very much for watching. Get out and explore.